The garden section of Harmony 7 smelled like home. Lucy Barrett pressed her small hands into the dark soil, feeling the earth between her fingers while Badger dug enthusiastically beside her. The 7-year-old girl laughed as her pet honey badger tossed dirt everywhere, his short legs working with determined energy. Around them, the observation deck stretched wide with its massive windows showing the stars beyond. Other species walked past, some stopping to stare at the strange Earth child and her even stranger animal. Lucy was used to the attention by now. 3 years since humans joined the Galactic Assembly meant 3 years of being the weird new species. Badger paused his digging to sniff at something interesting. His black and white coat was already dusty, and Lucy knew her father would shake his head when he saw them later. But Ambassador Robert Barrett understood that his daughter needed this, needed the soil, needed Badger, needed something that reminded her of Earth and the mother she had lost 2 years ago. "What are you doing?" The voice was sharp and cold. Lucy looked up to see a tall insectoid figure towering over her. Commander Rivek of the Prothan species stood with 4 of his security troops behind him. His hard exoskeleton gleamed under the artificial lights, and his multifaceted eyes reflected Lucy's small form dozens of times over. "Playing," Lucy said simply. She pointed at the sign nearby. "This is the Earth Garden section. It says humans can use it." "That creature is dangerous," Rivek stated. His mandibles clicked together in what Lucy had learned was Prothan disapproval. "Station regulations prohibit wild animals in public spaces." Lucy stood up, brushing dirt from her knees. "Badger isn't wild. He's my support animal. Dad registered him when we moved here. See?" She held up the harness Badger wore, showing the small registration tag. Rivek leaned closer, examining the tag with obvious disdain. "This animal is from Earth, a Class 12 death world. All creatures from such places are inherently dangerous." "Badger's nice," Lucy insisted. "He helps me when I feel sad." The commander straightened to his full height. "I have reviewed reports of your planet's fauna. This species, the honey badger, is listed as extremely aggressive. It has been documented attacking creatures many times its size. Such a predator cannot be allowed to roam freely where it might harm station residents." Badger, sensing the tension, moved closer to Lucy. He sat beside her foot, looking up at the tall aliens with his small dark eyes. To Lucy, he looked alert but calm. To Rivek, he apparently looked like a threat. "You must surrender the animal immediately," Rivek declared. "It will be placed in proper containment until your family departs the station." "No." Lucy's voice was quiet but firm. "Badger stays with me. Dad said so. Your father's permission is irrelevant." Rivek gestured to his troops. "I am the security commander of this station. I have the authority to remove any threat to public safety." Lucy felt her heart beating faster. She knew what happened when Badger got scared. She had seen it once back on Earth when a neighbor's aggressive dog had cornered them. Badger didn't run from threats. He faced them head-on, no matter how big they were. "Please don't," Lucy said, her voice wavering slightly. "You shouldn't do that. Badger doesn't like being grabbed. He doesn't like cages." "Then you should have considered that before bringing a wild predator to a diplomatic station." Rivek nodded to his soldiers. "Secure the animal. Use stun nets if necessary." 2 Prothan guards moved forward, pulling out equipment from their belts. Lucy quickly scooped up Badger, holding him close to her chest. The honey badger remained calm in her arms, trusting her completely. "Last warning, child," Rivek said. "Release the animal or we will be forced to stun you both." Lucy looked around desperately, hoping to see her father or anyone who might help. The observation deck had cleared, other station residents backing away from the confrontation. No one wanted to challenge Commander Rivek. The Prothans were known throughout the galaxy for their rigid adherence to rules and their military strength. One of the guards raised a strange device that crackled with blue energy. Lucy recognized it as a stun net launcher. She had seen security forces use them during training exercises. "Wait," she tried one more time. "Please, just let me call my dad. He can explain everything. Badger has all the right papers. He's allowed to be here." Enough delays. Rivek's voice carried finality. Proceed. The guard fired. The stun net expanded in midair, crackling with electricity. Lucy tried to turn away to shield Badger, but the net was too fast. It wrapped around both of them, and Lucy felt her muscles lock up as the electrical charge hit. She fell to her knees, unable to move. Badger's body went rigid in her arms. His eyes closed as the stunning effect took hold. Lucy wanted to scream, wanted to fight, but her jaw wouldn't work. Tears ran down her frozen face as she felt rough hands prying Badger from her grip. Through blurry vision, she saw the guards placing Badger's unconscious form into a small electromagnetic cage. The cage hummed with power, its bars glowing faintly blue. The stunning effect began to wear off. Lucy gasped as control returned to her muscles. She looked up at Commander Rivek, who stood watching with what seemed like satisfaction. "The animal will be held in the security sector," he announced. "You may file a formal complaint with Station Director Chin if you wish, but the creature will not be returned until your family leaves Harmony 7. Lucy watched them carry Badger away, his small body still limp from the stunning. Something changed inside her then. The fear and desperation faded, replaced by a strange calm. She had tried to warn them. She had tried to explain. They hadn't listened. She stood up slowly, dirt still on her clothes, tears still on her cheeks. But when she looked at Commander Rivek, she wasn't crying anymore. She was smiling. It was a sad smile, the kind adults sometimes wore when they knew something bad was about to happen and couldn't stop it. "Now you've done it," Lucy said softly. Rivek turned to leave, dismissing her words with a wave of his clawed hand. His troops followed, carrying the caged honey badger between them. They disappeared through the corridor entrance, the electromagnetic cage humming its containment song. Lucy stood alone in the Earth Garden section, surrounded by scattered dirt and abandoned toys. She pulled out her communicator and pressed the emergency contact for her father. "Dad," she said when he answered. "They took Badger. Commander Rivek took him." Ambassador Robert Barrett's voice came through immediately, tight with concern and something else. Something that sounded like dread. "Lucy, are you hurt? Where did they take him?" "I'm okay. They used a stun net. They took Badger to the security sector." Lucy paused. "Dad, I tried to warn them. I told Commander Rivek that Badger doesn't like cages." There was a long silence on the other end. Then her father's voice came back, heavy with resignation. "I know, sweetheart. I know you did. Stay there. I'm coming to get you right now." Another pause. "And Lucy, I need to make some calls. This is about to become a very serious diplomatic situation." Lucy ended the call and looked toward the corridor where they had taken Badger. Somewhere in the security sector, her best friend was waking up in a cage, and somewhere in Commander Rivek's future, a lesson was about to be learned about Earth creatures and what happened when you trapped them. She just hoped no one got hurt too badly when Badger taught that lesson himself. Pain registered first, then awareness, then memory. Badger's eyes opened to unfamiliar surroundings. The honey badger lay on a cold metal floor inside a small enclosure. Blue light hummed around him, forming bars that weren't quite solid, but definitely there. Everything smelled wrong, smelled like metal and chemicals and fear. He tried to stand, his legs wobbly from whatever had hit him. The memory came back in flashes. Lucy holding him. A crackling net. Pain shooting through his body. Then nothing. Lucy was gone. Badger moved to the edge of his cage and reached out with one paw. The blue light barrier shocked him, sending pain through his sensitive pads. He jerked back, growling low in his throat. Outside the cage, he could see a larger room, with strange equipment and glowing panels on the walls. Two of the tall insect creatures stood beyond a transparent wall, watching him. One held a glowing tablet making notes. The other wore the same uniform as the one who had taken him from Lucy. Commander Rivek observed the small creature with cold satisfaction. "As you can see, Dr. Mullen, proper containment procedures neutralize any threat. The animal is secure." Dr. Mullen, the chief science officer, studied his scanner readings with growing concern. "Commander, I must advise caution. The biological data from Earth's database is quite alarming. This species has documented encounters with their planet's apex predators. Its pain tolerance exceeds anything we've measured before. Its aggression markers are comparable to creatures 3 times its mass. It weighs perhaps 10 kilograms, Rivek replied dismissively. What possible harm could such a small creature inflict? Inside the cage, Badger was learning. He touched the energy barrier again, this time keeping his paw in contact despite the pain. His thick skin and dense muscle evolved to withstand bee stings, and snake bites began adapting to the electrical current. It hurt, but Badger had experienced hurt before. Hurt was temporary. Being away from Lucy was unacceptable. He studied the cage carefully, using the intelligence that made honey badgers successful survivors on Earth. The blue energy came from emitters at the corners. The walls behind the energy field were solid metal, but where the energy field met the wall there was a seam, a gap barely wide enough for his claws. Badger began to dig. His powerful forelegs, designed to tear open termite mounds and dig burrows in hard African soil, attacked the seam. Sparks flew as his claws scraped metal. The energy barrier shocked him continuously, but he pushed through the pain. His loose skin allowed him to bunch his muscles differently, giving him leverage that would be impossible for most creatures. "Sir!" Dr. Mullen's voice rose in alarm. "The creature is attempting to breach the containment field." Rivek barely glanced at the monitor. The walls are titanium alloy, designed to hold creatures much larger and stronger. It's merely panicking. But Badger wasn't panicking. He was methodical, focused, and absolutely determined. Each strike of his claws weakened the seam a little more. The titanium alloy, perfect for holding most species, hadn't been designed to withstand the concentrated assault of an Earth predator specifically evolved to break through barriers. 15 minutes passed, then 20. Badger's claws were bleeding now, leaving red smears on the silver metal. But the seam was widening. The energy field flickered as its projection surface became compromised. "Commander!" Dr. Mullen pointed at his scanner. "The structural integrity is failing. The creature is actually breaking through." Rivek moved to the window, his confidence faltering. "That's impossible. No creature that size should have the strength to damage reinforced titanium." Badger didn't care what was possible or impossible. He only knew that Lucy was somewhere else, probably scared, and he needed to get to her. With a final surge of effort, he tore a hole large enough to squeeze through. The energy barrier sputtered and died as its field integrity collapsed. The honey badger pulled himself through the gap and dropped into the maintenance conduit behind the wall. The narrow space was dark and filled with cables and pipes, perfect for hiding, perfect for moving unseen. Alarms shrieked through the security sector. Rivek slammed his hand on the emergency alert panel. "All security teams to the detention facility. The Earth creature has escaped. Armed response authorized." Dr. Mullen was already backing toward the exit. "Commander, perhaps we should contact Ambassador Barrett. Let him retrieve the animal peacefully." "Absolutely not." Rivek's pride was wounded deeper than any claw could reach. "I will not show weakness before the humans. We will recapture this creature and demonstrate Prothean superiority." 3 security teams mobilized within minutes. Each consisted of 5 highly trained Prothean soldiers equipped with stun weapons, capture nets, and tracking scanners. They converged on the detention facility, confident in their numbers and technology. Team leader Crix received the assignment with professional calm. He had served in the Prothean military for 12 years, handling everything from space pirates to diplomatic security. One small animal would be a simple matter. His team entered the maintenance tunnels cautiously, scanners sweeping for thermal signatures. The readings led them deeper into the station's infrastructure, into areas normally only accessed by automated repair drones. "Contact ahead," one soldier reported. 20 meters. Heat signature matches the Earth creature." They moved forward, stun batons activated and ready. The tunnel narrowed, forcing them into single file. Crix led, his weapon raised. He saw the honey badger ahead, backed into a corner where 2 tunnels met. The creature was small, bleeding from its paws and surrounded. It should have been terrified. Instead, Badger growled. The sound was low and primal, vibrating through the tunnel. It was the sound of an animal that had never learned to fear anything, that had been bred by evolution to face threats instead of fleeing them. Crix moved forward. "Surrender protocol. Prepare to stun on my mark," Badger charged. What happened next would be studied in Prothean military academies for years to come. The honey badger moved with speed that seemed impossible for its size. It ducked under the first stun baton, twisted around the second, and launched itself at Crix's leg. The team leader screamed as teeth designed to crush bone clamped down on his armor. The reinforced material, meant to protect against standard weapons, cracked under the pressure. Badger's claws found gaps in the armor, tearing at the vulnerable joints. The other soldiers tried to help, but the tunnel was too narrow. Their stun batons hit each other as often as they hit the creature. When they did land hits, Badger seemed barely affected. His thick skin and fat layer evolved to protect against. Bee stings and porcupine quills dispersed the electrical shocks. 90 seconds after the engagement began, all 5 soldiers lay on the tunnel floor. None were dead, but all were injured. Broken bones, deep lacerations. One soldier's armor was completely shredded down one side. Badger stood among them, panting heavily, blood on his muzzle, not his blood. He looked at each fallen soldier, making sure they weren't getting up. Then he turned and disappeared back into the darkness of the maintenance tunnels. In the command center, Commander Rivek watched the security footage in stunned silence. Director Kin, the nervous Selkri administrator, stood beside him with growing horror. "Commander," Chin said carefully, "perhaps it is time to reconsider. The humans warned us. The child warned us specifically. Maybe we should allow them to retrieve their animal." "No." Rivek's voice was hard. "Deploy teams 2 and 3. Use heavier weapons. Flood the sections with sedative gas if necessary. But that creature will be caged again." In Ambassador Barrett's quarters, Lucy sat on her bed while her father made increasingly urgent calls. She heard him talking with other diplomats, with Station Director Kin, with military advisors back on Earth. Everyone was trying to fix this before it got worse, but Lucy knew it was already too late. She pulled up the station's security feed on her tablet, using the access codes her father had given her for emergencies. She watched Badger moving through the tunnels, saw him disable a sensor cable with his teeth, saw him avoid a patrol by climbing through a ventilation shaft. "He's not just running away anymore," she whispered to herself. Her father ended his latest call and sat beside her. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" Lucy showed him the tablet, pointing at Badger's movement pattern. "See? He's moving toward the command center. He's not scared anymore, Dad. Now he's hunting." Ambassador Robert Barrett looked at the screen and felt ice settle in his stomach. His daughter was right. The honey badger wasn't fleeing in panic. He was navigating the station with purpose, heading directly toward the security command center, heading toward Commander Rivek. "I need to stop this," Barrett said, standing up quickly. "Before someone gets killed." Lucy nodded, but her face showed doubt. "Badger won't stop until they let him go, Dad. That's how honey badgers are. They never give up." Her father paused at the door, looking back at his wise, sad daughter. "I know. That's what I'm afraid of." Security Team 2 learned nothing from Team 1's failure. They found Badger in a storage area near the environmental systems. The team leader, confident in their superior numbers and equipment, set up an electrified perimeter. Specialized barriers that would deliver a stunning shock to anything that tried to cross them. Badger examined the barriers carefully. Then he simply dug under them. The storage area had raised flooring with crawl space beneath for cable routing. Badger's claws made short work of the floor grating. Within minutes, he had tunneled underneath the entire perimeter and emerged behind the security team. They didn't realize he was behind them until he attacked the power generator for their barriers. His teeth severed the main cable, plunging the area into darkness and disabling their trap. In the confusion that followed, Badger escaped through a ventilation shaft too small for the Prothean soldiers to follow. Team 2 reported back with damaged equipment and wounded pride. Team 3 tried different tactics. They used sonic deterrents, devices that emitted frequencies painful to most species. The high-pitched sound should have driven the creature away or rendered it unconscious. Badger flinched when the sound hit. It hurt. His sensitive ears flattened against his head and his body tensed with pain. But he didn't run. Instead, he moved forward, each step deliberate despite the agony, his eyes fixed on the device emitting the sound. The soldiers watched in disbelief as the small creature approached their deterrent, suffering obvious distress but refusing to retreat. When Badger reached the device, he destroyed it with 3 powerful strikes of his claws. The sound died abruptly. Then he turned on the soldiers. By the time backup arrived, Team 3 had retreated, leaving their expensive equipment behind in pieces. In the command center, Commander Rivek watched his security forces fail again and again. Each attempt to capture the honey badger ended in defeat. The creature was learning the station's layout faster than they could predict his movements. He disabled sensors to create blind spots. He avoided patrol routes by seconds. He was impossibly outsmarting them. Dr. Mullen had finally accessed Earth's complete database on honey badgers. What he read made his blood run cold. "Commander, you need to see this." He displayed images and videos on the main screen. This species has documented encounters with lions, with hyenas, with venomous cobras. They hunt porcupines despite the quills. They break into beehives for food despite being stung hundreds of times. Their skin is so thick and loose that even when gripped by predators, they can twist inside it to counterattack. Rivek watched footage of a honey badger fighting off 6 lions. The small creature refused to back down, attacking with such ferocity that the lions eventually retreated. "This cannot be," Rivek said, but his voice lacked conviction now. "Commander Rivek." The voice came from the communication panel. Director Kin sounding desperate. "The ambassadors from 12 species are demanding an emergency meeting. They want to know why a human child's pet has defeated your entire security force. Ambassador Barrett is requesting permission to retrieve the animal himself. He says the creature knows him and will come peacefully." Denied. But Rivek's mandibles clicked nervously. "I will handle this situation." "With respect, Commander, you haven't handled it. You've escalated it. 19 soldiers injured so far. Millions of credits in damaged equipment. And the creature is now moving toward the command center. Toward you specifically." Rivek checked his tactical display. The Selkri director was correct. The honey badger's last known position was 3 levels away and closing. The pattern was clear. The creature was coming for him. Ambassador Barrett arrived at the command center without invitation or permission. Lucy was with him, insisting she could help. They found Commander Rivek surrounded by his personal guard, 8 of his best soldiers forming a protective circle. "Ambassador," Rivek acknowledged stiffly, "this is a restricted area during security situations." "This situation only exists because you created it," Barrett replied, his diplomatic calm barely masking his anger. "That animal is registered, legal. He was peaceful until you attacked him. Now you've turned him into exactly what you feared he was. The creature is dangerous. He's scared." Lucy's voice rang out across the command center. "He doesn't know where I am. He thinks you're going to hurt him more. So he's coming to stop you before you can." Rivek looked at the small human child with something approaching confusion. "You speak as if the animal can reason." "Badger's smart," Lucy said. "Not smart like people, but smart in his own way. He knows you're in charge. He knows you're the one who hurt him. So he's coming to make sure you can't do it again." Before Rivek could respond, the lights flickered, then went out completely. Emergency lighting activated, bathing the command center in red. "Power disruption on this level," a technician reported. Something severed the main conduit. Through the ventilation grate above, 2 small eyes reflected the red emergency lights. Badger had found them. The honey badger dropped from the vent, landing on a console with surprising grace. He was covered in dust and dried blood. His claws were worn from hours of digging and fighting, but his eyes were clear and focused, locked directly on Commander Rivek. The personal guards moved into position, weapons raised. Badger's growl was low and continuous, a warning that needed no translation. "Don't shoot." Lucy tried to move forward, but her father held her back. "Badger," Barrett called out. "Stand down. We're here. Lucy's here." But Badger wasn't listening to anyone except his own instincts. Those instincts told him that the tall insect creature was the threat. Was the one who had hurt him. Was the one who had taken him from Lucy. He charged. The guards fired stun rounds. The projectiles hit Badger's thick hide and bounced off. They fired containment foam. Badger tore through it like paper. One guard made the critical mistake of trying to physically restrain the creature. Badger's counterattack was immediate and brutal. His teeth found the guard's arm, clamping down with over 800 pounds of bite force. His claws raked across armor, finding every gap and weak point. The guard went down screaming. The other guards tried to help their comrade, but Badger moved between them like water, too fast and too low for their weapons to track effectively. Each time they thought they had him cornered, he would twist and attack from a different angle. Commander Rivek backed against the wall, his military training forgotten in the face of this impossible creature. How could something so small be so unstoppable? Every weapon failed. Every tactic proved useless. The honey badger kept coming, advancing through a hail of stun fire that would have dropped creatures 10 times his size. Badger reached Rivek's feet, looked up at the commander with eyes that held no mercy, no fear. Only the absolute certainty of a predator that had never learned to give up. Rivek, for the first time in his distinguished military career, screamed, "Badger!" The voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Lucy had broken free from her father's grip and stood at the center of the command center, holding a jar of honey that she'd grabbed from her emergency backpack. "Come!" The transformation was instantaneous. The vicious predator that had terrorized the entire station suddenly became a pet again. Badger's aggressive posture relaxed. His growl stopped. He looked at Lucy, saw the honey, and trotted over to her as if nothing had happened. He sat at her feet, looking up expectantly. Lucy knelt down and opened the jar, letting him eat while she gently stroked his dusty head. Around them, injured guards groaned and damaged equipment sparked. Lucy looked up at Commander Rivek, who remained pressed against the wall, his entire body trembling. The expression on her young face held no triumph, only sadness and disappointment. "I told you," she said quietly. "I told you not to do that. Now you've done it. Now everyone's hurt because you wouldn't listen." Rivek slid down the wall, sitting on the floor, his confidence shattered as completely as his security force. He stared at the small human child calmly feeding honey to the creature that had just defeated 8 trained soldiers, without breaking a sweat. Ambassador Barrett moved to his daughter's side, relief and anger warring on his face. He addressed the room, but his words were clearly meant for Rivek. "On Earth we have a saying about honey badgers. Honey badger doesn't care. It means they're fearless to the point of insanity. They challenge everything. They never surrender. They never retreat. And they never ever forgive a threat to what they love." He looked at Rivek directly. "You caged something that can't be caged. You threatened what he loves, and now you've learned what humans learned thousands of years ago. Some things from Earth are best left alone." Lucy finished feeding Badger and clipped his harness back on. The honey badger, satisfied and tired, settled down beside her feet. Just a pet again. Just a small animal that wanted to be near his human. But everyone in that command center would forever see something else when they looked at him. They would see the unstoppable force that had taught Commander Rivek and the Prothan military a lesson they would never forget. Size doesn't matter when you're from Earth. The medical bay overflowed with injured Prothan soldiers, 23 in total, though none had life-threatening wounds. Broken bones, deep lacerations, severe bruising, and shattered pride filled every bed. Medical staff from 3 different species worked to treat injuries that seemed impossible from such a small creature. Dr. Mullen moved between patients, documenting each injury with scientific precision. The data was disturbing. Bite forces that exceeded theoretical calculations. Claw damage that penetrated military-grade armor. And most telling, the psychological impact. Every soldier who had faced the honey badger showed signs of trauma. They flinched at sudden movements. They couldn't sleep. They kept seeing those small, determined eyes coming at them through the darkness. Director Kin called an emergency session with all station ambassadors. The meeting room filled quickly, representatives from 12 species gathering to discuss what was being called simply the incident. Lucy sat in the back with her father, Badger sleeping peacefully in her lap. The other delegates kept glancing at them, fascination and fear mixed in their alien eyes. The small creature that had terrorized the station now snored softly, looking completely harmless. Commander Rivek was conspicuously absent. He had been relieved of duty pending a formal investigation. The Prothan government had sent an emergency representative, Officer Sella, who stood before the assembly with visible embarrassment. On behalf of the Prothan Confederation, Sella began. I offer formal apologies to Ambassador Barrett and his daughter. Commander Rivek exceeded his authority and ignored proper diplomatic protocols. The creature was legally registered. It posed no threat until provoked. Ambassador Barrett stood when called upon. He carried a data tablet loaded with information he wished he'd never had to present. "Members of the Galactic Assembly," he said calmly, "I need to provide context that may be uncomfortable. The creature you're all staring at is called a honey badger. On Earth, they're considered one of the most fearless animals in existence. They have been documented attacking lions, hyenas, buffalo, and even rhinoceroses when threatened." He displayed footage from Earth. The delegates watched in growing horror as honey badgers fought off multiple lions, survived cobra bites, and broke into secured enclosures with disturbing ease. Their skin is thick enough to resist most predator bites. Their metabolism processes toxins that would kill most species. They can dig through concrete given enough time. And most importantly, they have no fear response, none. When threatened, they attack regardless of the size or number of opponents. A delegate from the Lumari species, a peaceful race that resembled tall, slender birds, spoke up with a trembling voice. "Ambassador Barrett, if this is a common animal from your world, what are your actual warriors like?" Barrett paused, choosing his words carefully. "Honey badgers aren't even our apex predators. Earth has creatures that hunt honey badgers. Earth has creatures that hunt those creatures. Humans evolved to survive alongside all of them. We learned to be tough because our world demanded it. But we also learned to be kind because surviving alone on Earth is almost impossible." He gestured to Lucy, who was gently stroking Badger's sleeping form. "My daughter tried to warn Commander Rivek. She explained that her pet didn't like cages. She begged him not to use force. But he didn't listen. He saw a small creature and assumed weakness. He saw a child and dismissed her knowledge. This is the result." The Drex Confederation delegate, a massive reptilian warrior from a militaristic society, leaned forward with interest. "Ambassador Barrett, your species fascinates us. We have fought wars across the galaxy. We pride ourselves on our strength. But this creature, this pet, defeated trained Prothan soldiers without difficulty. We must know, would humanity be open to military alliances?" "No." Barrett's response was immediate and firm. "We didn't come to the stars to wage war. We came to learn, to trade, to coexist. What happened here was defensive, not aggressive. Badger only fought because he was attacked first. But the damage was done. The seed was planted. Humanity had just demonstrated, through a child's pet, that Earth produced survivors unlike anything the galaxy had seen before." In another part of the station, Lucy sat with several young aliens who had gathered to meet Badger properly. A young Lumari named Pip, barely older than Lucy, approached nervously. "Is he really the one who hurt all those soldiers?" Pip asked, her feathers fluffed with anxiety. Lucy nodded, but only because they hurt him first. "Badger doesn't want to fight. He just wants to be safe and eat honey and dig in the dirt. Fighting is what happens when someone makes him scared." A young Prothan, son of one of the injured soldiers, stepped forward. "My father says your pet is a monster." "Your father helped put Badger in a cage and shot him with stun weapons," Lucy replied without anger. "If someone did that to you, wouldn't you fight back?" The young Prothan had no answer to that. Badger woke up from his nap and looked around at the gathered children. He yawned, showing his impressive teeth, and several of the young aliens backed away quickly. But Lucy just scratched behind his ears, "See?" she said. "He's gentle when no one's hurting him. That's the important part. Earth animals can be dangerous, but we're also loyal. We protect our families." That's what Badger was doing. Protecting me. An elderly Venn collective representative, a species known for their logic and scientific approach, had been listening from nearby. She approached Lucy with measured respect. "Young human," she said, her translated voice carrying curiosity rather than fear. "Your world must be remarkable to produce such creatures, and frightening as well, I imagine." Lucy thought about that. Earth is hard. Really hard. It has deserts where nothing grows and oceans deep enough to hide monsters and jungles full of things that want to eat you. But it's also beautiful. The hard parts teach you to be strong. The beautiful parts teach you why being strong matters. The Venn representative recorded those words carefully. They would become part of the official record, studied by xenobiologists for years to come. Back in the diplomatic chamber, Ambassador Barrett was wrapping up his presentation. The Galactic Assembly needs to update its classification system. Earth animals aren't just dangerous or safe. They're complex, They're intelligent in their own ways. And most importantly, they need to be respected, not feared. Respect means understanding. Understanding prevents incidents like this. Officer Sella, the Prothan representative, spoke again. The Prothan Confederation offers full reparations, medical costs, equipment damage, and compensation to the Barrett family. We also recommend new protocols for handling Class 12 Death World fauna. With your permission, Ambassador Barrett, we would like to establish training programs so this never happens again. Barrett nodded acceptance. We'll cooperate fully, but understand, this isn't about making everyone afraid of Earth, it's about making everyone respectful. There's a difference. As the meeting adjourned, delegates from various species approached Barrett with questions. Some wanted to know more about Earth animals. Others asked about humanity's capabilities. A few, like the Drex Confederation, continued pressing for military partnerships. But most simply wanted to understand how a species could be both dangerous and gentle. How a creature like Badger could be both a vicious fighter and a loyal companion. How humans could produce something so formidable yet choose peace. Lucy, still sitting with the young aliens, provided the answer they were looking for without realizing it. On Earth, she explained to her new friends, the strongest things aren't always the biggest. Ants can carry things heavier than themselves. Spiders catch things bigger than they are, and honey badgers fight things that should kill them. Being from Earth means never giving up. But it also means knowing when to stop fighting. She looked at Badger, who had fallen asleep again with his head in her lap. Badger stopped when I called him. He stopped because he trusts me. Because we're family. That's the real lesson. Earth teaches you to be strong, but humans teach you to be kind. The young aliens absorbed this wisdom in silence. They would carry it back to their parents, who would share it with their governments, who would update their understanding of humanity. A species from a death world, strong enough to survive where others would perish, fierce enough to defend what they loved without hesitation, but wise enough to know that strength without compassion was just violence. The galaxy had just learned what it meant to be human. And the teacher had been a 7-year-old girl and her impossible pet. News traveled fast in the Galactic Assembly. Within 3 days, every species in known space had heard about the honey badger incident. The video spread like wildfire across galactic networks, footage of Badger tearing through containment, fighting off entire security teams, advancing on Commander Revek despite overwhelming force. The reactions varied wildly depending on the species. The Drex Confederation watched the footage a dozen times. Their military academies began studying Badger's tactics, the way he used the environment, the way he adapted to each weapon used against him, the way he never retreated. Their war council convened specifically to discuss the implications. If their pets fight like this, General Dross rumbled, his scales rippling with excitement. Imagine their soldiers. Imagine an alliance with Earth. We could be unstoppable. But the Drex military attaché who had been present at Harmony 7 shook his massive head. General, with respect, you misunderstand. The human ambassador rejected military alliance. He said they came to learn and trade, not to wage war. Their strength is defensive, not aggressive. Dross considered this. Then they're either wiser than us or foolish. Time will tell which. The peaceful Lumari had a different reaction entirely. Their Council of Harmony met in emergency session, their songs of concern echoing through their floating cities. Earth terrifies us, their speaker admitted. A world so harsh that even their companion animals are weapons. How can we coexist with such a species? But their ambassador to Harmony 7 shared what she had witnessed. The child Lucy showed us the path. She explained that Earth's harshness teaches strength, but humans choose kindness. They could conquer, but they seek friendship. I recommend we embrace them as allies, not fear them as enemies. The Lumari began planning cultural exchanges, hoping to learn humanity's secret of balancing ferocity with compassion. The Venn Collective, ever logical and scientific, updated their entire xenobiology database. They created a new classification system for Death World species, with Earth animals serving as the baseline examples. Their lead researcher published a paper titled Adaptive Aggression in Class 12, Fauna, the Honey Badger Paradox. It became required reading across the scientific community. The creature designated honey badger displays tactical intelligence, pain tolerance, and threat response far exceeding its mass and energy requirements. The paper concluded, this suggests that Earth's hostile environment has produced evolutionary pressures we have never encountered. Recommend extreme caution and respect when dealing with any Earth-origin species. On Harmony 7 itself, life changed dramatically. Commander Sella implemented new protocols immediately. All Earth animals received special designation in the station database. Security forces underwent mandatory training on Death World fauna. The training included a simple principle: de-escalate first. Respect always. Force never unless absolutely necessary. The training used Badger as the primary example. Sella herself conducted sessions, showing the security footage frame by frame. Notice here, she would point out, the creature only becomes aggressive when threatened. When the child calls him, he stops immediately. This teaches us that understanding and respect prevent violence more effectively than weapons. The Prothean soldiers who had faced Badger were interviewed extensively. Their testimony was humbling and educational. "I fought pirates, rebels, and smugglers," one soldier admitted, "but nothing prepared me for that creature. It didn't care about the stun weapons, didn't care that we were bigger, didn't care that there were 5 of us. It just kept coming. I've never felt fear like that before." Another soldier added, "But when the little human girl called it, the creature transformed instantly. That was almost more frightening. It showed perfect control. It could have killed us, but it chose not to. It was making a point, not fighting for survival." Lucy became something of a celebrity, though she didn't particularly enjoy the attention. Aliens would stop her in the corridors asking to see Badger or hear about Earth. She answered their questions politely but always made the same points. Badger isn't special. He's just a normal honey badger. Earth has lots of animals like him. Some are nicer, some are meaner, but they're all just trying to survive and be happy. Her father watched her handle the attention with pride. His daughter had accidentally become humanity's most effective ambassador, teaching aliens what no adult diplomat could. That Earth was dangerous, yes, but also that danger could be controlled with understanding and respect. 6 months after the incident, the changes were visible across the station and beyond. Harmony 7 now had designated areas for Earth fauna, complete with appropriate enrichment and safety measures. Other stations were adopting similar protocols. The Galactic Assembly passed new regulations specifically addressing Death World species, using Earth animals as the primary reference. More surprisingly, several species requested Earth animals as companions. The vetting process was strict, requiring psychological evaluation and extensive training. But gradually dogs and cats began appearing on alien worlds, carefully selected for temperament. Thoroughly trained, always respected, a Lumari family adopted a golden retriever and named him Sunshine. The dog became a therapy animal for their entire community, teaching them that Earth could produce gentle creatures too. A Drex warrior requested a cat, specifically asking for one with attitude. He got a tabby named General who promptly established dominance in his household. The warrior loved her fiercely, appreciating her independence and hunting prowess. But honey badgers remained restricted. Only registered support animals like Badger were permitted off Earth. The Galactic Assembly deemed them too intense for casual pet ownership. Lucy thought that was probably wise. Former Commander Rivek re-emerged in an unexpected way. He published a book titled Pride Before Survival: Lessons from Harmony 7. In it, he detailed his mistakes with brutal honesty. "I saw a small creature and assumed weakness," he wrote. "I saw a human child and dismissed her wisdom. I put my pride and my species' reputation above common sense and diplomacy. The result was disaster. I learned too late that in the galaxy size means nothing. Respect means everything." The book became required reading in Prothean military academies. Rivek himself began giving lectures on diplomatic approaches to security. He was particularly passionate about listening to locals, especially when they warned you about their animals. "When a 7-year-old human tells you her pet doesn't like cages," he said in one lecture, "believe her.
She knows more than you do."
That's not weakness. That's wisdom. Lucy attended one of his lectures via video link. When he finished, she sent him a private message. "Thank you for learning. Badger forgives you. I forgive you too." Rivek kept that message, displaying it in his office as a reminder. On Earth itself, humanity watched the galactic response with mixed feelings. They were proud of how they'd been perceived but worried about the implications. Were they being seen as too dangerous? Would other species fear them? But the diplomatic reports were reassuring. Yes, the galaxy now respected humanity's death world origin. Yes, they were cautious about Earth fauna, but they were also eager to learn, to trade, and to form alliances. Fear had transformed into respect, which was exactly what humanity needed. Ambassador Barrett received a commendation from Earth's government and personal thanks from the Secretary of Galactic Affairs. Your daughter and her pet did more for humanity's reputation than 1,000 diplomatic missions could have achieved, the Secretary wrote. She showed them we're strong enough to be dangerous but wise enough to choose peace. That's the message we want to send. Lucy read the message over her father's shoulder and shrugged. I just wanted Badger back. I didn't mean to change anything. The best ambassadors never do, her father said, hugging her. They just show people who they really are. Badger, oblivious to his role in galactic politics, continued being himself. He dug in the Earth Garden section. He ate honey. He slept in Lucy's bed, and when other aliens approached, he was perfectly friendly as long as they were respectful. He had taught the galaxy a lesson it wouldn't forget, and now he was content to just be a pet again, though everyone who saw him would always remember what he was capable of when pushed too far. 1 year after the incident, Harmony 7 had become the model for human-alien integration in the Galactic Assembly. The station bustled with activity, dozens of species coexisting peacefully, and at the heart of this success was an unlikely trio: a human ambassador, his 8-year-old daughter, and a honey badger who had accidentally changed galactic politics. Lucy sat in the Earth Garden section, now 3 times its original size and officially named Barrett Memorial Garden, after her late mother. Badger dug enthusiastically in his favorite spot, while several alien children watched from a respectful distance. They had learned that Badger was friendly, but also that he needed space when digging. Respect and boundaries, the core lessons of the past year. A young Prothan approached cautiously. His name was Tillisk, son of one of the soldiers Badger had injured. He held a gift, a flowering plant from his homeworld. For your garden, Tillisk said shyly. My father said I should apologize for what happened. He said he should have listened to you. Lucy accepted the plant with a warm smile. Thank you. And tell your father that Badger and I don't hold grudges. What happened taught everyone something important. Tillisk nodded, still nervous around the honey badger. Is it true he can really fight lions? On Earth, yes. But Badger doesn't want to fight anything here. He just wants to be my friend. Lucy gestured to the space beside her. You can sit with us if you want. Just move slowly and let him smell your hand first. The young Prothan carefully followed her instructions. Badger sniffed his hand thoroughly, decided he smelled interesting, and went back to digging. Tillisk relaxed slightly. Your father teaches at our academy now, he said. All the cadets study what happened. They say it's the most important lesson in respecting other species. Lucy nodded. Former Commander Rivek had indeed found a new purpose. His lectures on diplomatic security were attended by representatives from dozens of species. He had transformed his greatest failure into his most valuable contribution. Other children approached the garden, a mix of species that would have been unthinkable a year ago. A Lumari, 2 Drex younglings, a Ven child, and even a Selkri who usually avoided crowded spaces. They had formed what Lucy called the Cross-Species Friends Club, meeting weekly to learn about each other's cultures. Lucy, the Lumari child named Pip, asked, Can you tell us more about Earth animals today? We want to understand your world better. Lucy pulled out her tablet loaded with images and videos from home. She showed them elephants, the massive creatures that moved with surprising gentleness. She showed them hummingbirds, impossibly small and fast. She showed them whales, singing their songs in Earth's deep oceans. Earth has every kind of creature you can imagine, she explained. Some are gentle, some are fierce, some are big, some are tiny, but they all evolved to survive on a planet that's really hard to live on. That's what makes them special. One of the Drex younglings, fascinated by predators, asked about Earth's apex hunters. Lucy showed footage of tigers, bears, and great white sharks. The alien children watched in awe and appropriate fear. But humans live with all of these? Pip asked, her feathers ruffling anxiously. We learned to, Lucy said. It took a long time. We built walls and weapons in cities, but we also learned to respect them. To protect their homes, to remember that we share Earth with them. That's important. Being strong doesn't mean being cruel. Commander Sella watched the lesson from a distance, taking notes. She had transformed Harmony 7's security force from a military-focused unit to a diplomatic protection service. The change in philosophy came directly from studying what had happened with Badger. Strength through understanding, not force, had become their motto. She approached Ambassador Barrett, who stood nearby supervising the children's gathering. Ambassador, I wanted to inform you that the Galactic Assembly has officially adopted our protocols station-wide. Every diplomatic facility in known space will now follow Harmony 7's model for handling Deathworld species. Barrett nodded with satisfaction. That's good news. Has there been any feedback from other species? Overwhelmingly positive. Even the Drex Confederation, who we worried might see it as weakness, have praised the approach. General Dross himself sent a message saying that true warriors know when not to fight is the greatest victory. They watched Lucy teach the alien children about Earth's ecosystems, explaining how predators and prey maintained balance. She had a gift for making complex ideas simple, for finding common ground between vastly different species. Your daughter is remarkable, Sella observed. She has done more for interspecies relations than most adult diplomats. She learned from her mother, Barrett said quietly. My wife always said that the best way to make peace was to help people understand each other. Lucy carries that lesson forward. Badger, tired from digging, waddled over to Lucy and climbed into her lap. She absently petted him while continuing her lesson. The alien children no longer flinched at his approach. They understood now that he was dangerous only when threatened, gentle when respected. Later that evening, Barrett received a communication from Earth's government. The Secretary of Galactic Affairs appeared on his screen, smiling broadly. Ambassador Barrett, I have excellent news. Based on the success at Harmony 7, Earth has been invited to host the next Galactic Assembly Summit. They want to see our world, to understand where we come from, and they specifically requested that your daughter and her honey badger be part of the welcoming committee. Barrett felt a surge of pride mixed with concern. That's an honor, but Lucy is just a child. Is it appropriate to place that kind of responsibility on her? She won't be responsible for anything except being herself, the secretary assured him. The delegates want to see the human who taught them to respect Earth. They want to meet Badger in his natural environment. It's a symbolic visit, showing that we trust them enough to invite them to our death world. The following months passed in preparation. Harmony 7 continued thriving under its new protocols. Lucy's cross-species friends club expanded, with children from even more species joining. Badger remained the unofficial mascot, teaching through his mere presence that Earth creatures could be both formidable and friendly. Former Commander Rivek visited one last time before the summit. He requested a private meeting with Lucy, bringing another gift, a detailed sculpture of Badger in a heroic pose. I commissioned this from our finest artist, he said, presenting it to her. It will be displayed in the Prothan Military Academy as a reminder to all cadets about humility and respect. Lucy accepted the sculpture, examining the incredible detail. The artist had captured Badger mid-charge, fierce and unstoppable. But the base of the sculpture showed him sleeping peacefully in Lucy's lap. Thank you, Lucy said sincerely. But you know Badger isn't a hero, right? He's just a pet who was scared and defended himself. That's what makes the lesson so powerful, Rivek replied. Heroes are born from circumstance, not intention. Your companion didn't seek conflict. Neither did you. But when challenged unjustly, you both stood firm. That's the definition of courage. He knelt to Lucy's level, his alien features softening with genuine respect. I was wrong about many things. Wrong about your pet, wrong about your species, wrong about my own superiority. Thank you for teaching me even though I made you suffer to learn. Lucy surprised him by hugging him, something Prothans rarely experienced. Everyone makes mistakes. What matters is learning from them. You did. That makes you a good person. The summit on Earth exceeded all expectations. Delegates from across the galaxy descended on carefully selected locations, experiencing humanity's death world firsthand. They saw the diverse ecosystems, met the various creatures, and understood finally why humans were the way they were. Lucy and Badger led tours through a wildlife preserve, showing aliens everything from butterflies to bison. The delegates marveled at Earth's beauty and danger existing side by side. Your world is magnificent and terrifying, a Lumari delegate observed. How do you find peace living here? Lucy thought about that while watching Badger investigate an anthill. We don't fight Earth, we work with it. We protect what needs protecting and respect what needs respecting. That's how we survive. That's how we live. Years would pass. Lucy would grow up to become Earth's youngest ambassador to the Galactic Assembly. Badger would live a long, happy life before passing peacefully in his sleep. But their lesson would endure. Throughout known space, the story of the honey badger and the child who loved him became legend. It was taught in schools, studied in academies, referenced in diplomatic negotiations. The core message remained constant. Never underestimate based on size or appearance, always respect those different from you, and understand that true strength includes knowing when not to use it. Harmony 7 stood as a monument to those principles. Its success proof that understanding could overcome fear, that respect could replace suspicion, and that a human child and her impossible pet could change the galaxy simply by being themselves. The lesson of the honey badger endured. Earth produces survivors, but humans choose peace. And that combination of strength and wisdom was what the galaxy needed most. In the Barrett Memorial Garden, now a protected heritage site, a plaque commemorated the incident. It read simply, "Here Lucy Barrett and her companion Badger taught the galaxy about respect, courage, and the wisdom of listening to warnings. They showed us that strength comes in all sizes, that fierceness and gentleness can coexist, and that the smallest voice sometimes carries the most important message. From Earth, with love." And below that, in smaller letters, someone had added humanity's gift to galactic culture. Honey Badger doesn't care, but humans do, and that makes all the difference.